TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced and get happy with Dr. Marissa. And this show is about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have shows and topics.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days.
Monday, Tuesday,
Happy days.
Wednesday, Thursday,
Happy days.
Friday, whatever.
Happy days.
What a day. Na, 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 na.
I love you.
I love you too.
Best known as the mom from Happy Days, and she is a delightful 89-year young Marion Ross to my studio. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Dr. Marissa, this is such a treat for me.
Oh.
My goodness, you're a wonderment.
Which is exactly the kind of guest that I like. Those who have gone through life, good and bad, and then taken those experiences to alchemize them into the person they are now and doing good on the planet. I'd like you to welcome Corey Feldman.
If you're grateful for it and you say right away, thank you, God. Oh, my God, it's so beautiful. I'm so blessed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Then guess what? More good things will come to you.
Does this sound familiar at all? She's back again to mark my Cancer Awareness and Prevention Month show. Please welcome Fran Drescher. Hi, Fran.
On and supporting cancer schmance. I really appreciate it.
So what would you say are some of the biggest myths, Fran, that people have about cancer?
Well, I would say that they think that there's a cure for it.
Okay.
Instead of a cause for it.
This is the first call-in show when I get to be Dr. Marissa, the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura. And people call in to get their life tires balanced and their critical thinking or their BS, their belief systems, smog checked. And today I am delighted to have Malie calling in from Birmingham, Alabama.
We could go 90 days and then end up having terrible sex. And then you say, well, the relationship's not all about sex. Well, if I'm not getting great sex from you, then I'm going to get it from somebody else. Right?
That moose just got put on the table. And I see Josh and Jim.
I have to agree
You're
with Clyde.
both nodding. Ramon's sort of half nodding because his wife's listening. But
I understood what was going to happen if Muhammad Ali's youngest daughter, made public that I was going to become a boxer. So I wanted to make sure this was the path that I wanted to go down.
you are absolutely fabulous, beautiful inside and out. And I'm giving you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award today.
Thank you.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic point.
When I go, I'm gone.
Are you lonely?
No.
Nah, I knew that was going to be
But
the answer.
I surround myself with people. I mean, I'm always the one cooking for things. But I'm always the one that decorates first and come to my house. All the orphans that have no place.
I'm going to have no place to go, so I can come over.
Come on over.
And life is so amazing if we can see it.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KZAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Streaker, Spreaker, and more. Why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So there's no gossip on this show, no scandal, no K-words, no Kanye talk now or formerly or later. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have topics and guests to that end, and it is consecutive week number 621, but who's counting? And this is show number podcast number 1133, lucky number there, synchronous, because they were wrong. People said, let's see, in my first year, the show about hope and happiness and not talking about the news that's so readily available out there. I'm not current as far as all the bad news is out there, but I am current with good news, good people, and today is no exception. I'm delighted to have in studio a new friend that I met at Greg Reed's fabulous yearly, I think bi-yearly now, Secret Knock. You know that I've been on his stage several times, and now I get to go and cover when I'm not speaking and meeting new people. And Stacy has the distinct honor or unpaid labor. She was my camera woman. I don't bring a crew down there because I want to, enjoy and sort of blend in too. But she was kind enough to be my camera woman. She is also, a best-selling author, professional speaker, and Iraq War veteran, specializing in leadership and performance optimization, executive and mindset coaching, and business and brand strategy to help you be the leader you are inspired to follow. She helps you take control of your mindset, energy, and time, master your focus to succeed and impact more by doing less. Her expertise in system and process automation, combined with her extensive life and leadership experience, enables her to offer a unique perspective and practical tools for rapid results. Please welcome to my studio, Stacy Raske.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
Stacy.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. This is so amazing. And it was so fun getting to support you in your video, being your videographer on demand.
It was very fun. That was one heck of a conference. And as usual, Greg did not disappoint. Before we talk, we can actually roll some of the stuff that, we got a finger on that one. Fingers are not that one, but this one. So if you're, thank you for alerting me that you're in studio. We have fabulous Cashew Gallery. I want to welcome Sci-Fi Mombi, who has her own show as well. Troy Pacelli, who has his own YouTube show. Thank you for joining us today. I know Lorraine's going to come in a little bit. But if you are driving and listening to me in your car radio, please do not chat. But when you land wherever it is, free subscribe on my YouTube channel, which is my show central. So you'll be able to play along, because the first thing we do on my show, and I didn't tell Stacy this, I don't tell my guests, it's, I like to keep them here with paying attention, but I know you're going to love this. It's a good life habit that I do on the show. I started a couple years ago now. it's taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich for breakfast. So you're going to have breakfast with myself and my guest. And what we do is the top of the bun is 8 specific things that you are grateful for outside of yourself. And I know for a fact that you do gratitudes because I think, talked about that. And then the bottom of the bun, we're going to model something that you do before you go to bed. And that is, what do you like about yourself? So it's appreciation, which is gratitude on the inside, and then gratitude on the outside for the top of the bun. You ready?
I am ready.
Awesome. So my first gratitude is that at Secret Knock, one of my favorite moments was listening to the man who did all of the music behind TV shows, Will and Grace, and then he talked about Seinfeld, and he asked the audience, "What's your favorite episode of Seinfeld?" And everybody yelled out, "The Soup Nazi." And then the cameras turned, and guess who was on the second floor, who came down for a little talk, was the Soup Nazi. And Stacy, I think you helped me video that interview of the Soup Nazi. And so we've invited him. We're just looking at scheduling to get him on the show. So I'm grateful that I got to meet the Soup Nazi at Secret Knock. What's your gratitude?
My first gratitude would be the amazing network of people, just all of the people collectively that I met at this event. It was just phenomenal. And just kind of taking it all together as this whole experiential thing. I'm just grateful for the gift of being invited.
Fantastic. I'm grateful that the sun is shining outside because I'm solar powered. Another one. Troy sometimes, he did play along. I was just going to say, usually Troy chimes in with the gratitude. Wonderful friends like Sci-Fi Mombi and great support system. Beautiful.
I love it. I am grateful for my husband who helps run behind the scenes in one of our companies, and he's working away while I'm here spending time with you.
Oh, that's so awesome. What's his name?
Jeff Martin. I'm Raske for branding, but he's Martin for, behind the scenes. I am also Martin.
and how long ago were you married?
20 years.
No
21 this
way. You look like you I thought I looked, hashtag ageless. You must use oil of Olay. Wow. Girlfriend.
I always tell people I wear joy well, right? Because it glows from the inside. So that would be another gratitude, is I'm grateful for radiating such positive energy. But that would be about me. So I know we'll get to that later.
Appreciation. That's appreciation.
Yeah, that's true. That's the appreciation of the sandwich.
We'll count that there.
Yeah, I'm 45. Awesome. I'll be 46 this year. So.
Dang.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about beauty secrets in a second. All right. I am grateful that the planets did not crash into each other last night. And so we get a new day to live, love, learn, hug, respect, innovate, laugh. And I just love that. I love my life. And when I say that, I absolutely mean it. I just love my life.
You can tell you radiate that level of joy and love and gratitude so much in everything that you do.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to appreciation because we're doing that. I appreciate that I get that from people, and I've learned how to receive it instead of saying thank you and then having the critic go, yeah, they don't know you well, and you're not all that. And I'm really, really appreciative that I can receive compliments now. And at Secret Knock, this is a gratitude appreciation. If I had so much love of people coming up and saying, I've watched you for 3 days, just the way that you move and groove is just wonderful. It makes me happy to watch you. And these are people that don't know me. So it's like, do I have toilet paper on my on my meetup. Why are you watching me? But Greg certainly is a wonderful, he introduces me. And then there were several people who were like, oh my God, Asian Oprah's here. I'm like, oh. Anyways, I appreciate that. I love to laugh. Laughter is my favorite sound in the world. What about you?
That is definitely a good one. I appreciate that I'm in a place that I attract people and opportunities like you into my world and being open to receive that. And, clearly that says that I've done a lot of work to be vibing at that level to match someone like yourself. And I just have to sit in that deep appreciation of all the work done in the dark so that we can shine in the light, right?
Yay. Love, love, love that. Sci-Fi Mommy, grateful for wonderful friends like Troy Pacelli. The love is bouncing back and forth in the Cashew Gallery and Orville Nation, and Maria with Tia and Telly for welcoming me into the community almost a year ago. Well, there you go. And now you are part of Dr. Marissa's Happy 88 tribe as well. And yes, I promise I'm going to set up the what is that called? Membership today. I did the video yesterday. They talked about Orville Nation, who is like my pressure by Orville. He's trying to make my platform bigger against my will. So that's kind of funny. Let's see. This is a great channel. So there's a gratitude there for Mombi. Let's do one more appreciation. And Troy and Sci-Fi, you're welcome to do it. I appreciate my ability to play the piano. I play, I'm a retired lounge lizard. I used to be what do they call piano bars? And I did piano bars in LA, Simply Blue, Sunset on Vine, Romeo and Juliet, and in Antwerp when I lived in Brussels. So I actually got invited to sing in an international karaoke competition. So today I'll be recording that, and the finals are in Finland. Isn't that crazy?
Amazing. I love that. It's like random and amazing.
Yeah, very random. Sometimes I break into song on the show, they'll tell you. So we'll see if I'm inspired that way. All right. Last appreciation from Stacy. What do you like about yourself?
I am really, really appreciative that I've gotten to a place where I just allow things to simply be and not assign meaning or take it personal. I think that's huge. It's been a game changer.
Yay. That's so funny because that was yesterday's show. Did you know that?
No.
Oh, yeah. DTIP. Don't take it personally.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
One of the 4 agreements too. So good.
Yes. And did you see the little clip of my interview with Don Miguel on my social?
Not yet. No. I've been stalking like crazy, but have not gotten to that one.
Yeah.
That's actually that was my first personal development book I ever read.
I tell everybody that's one of the foundation books. If you really want to begin to see your life as the fullness of what it is, and that, all this BS belief system that life's just about, going to a good school, getting a great job, and then hating your job because you are trapped in it, and then material stuff, and then dying and leaving your toys to squabbling relatives. That's not life. And if you read or listen to Don Miguel Ruiz, you'll get that. He's an incredible guy. Little fun backstory since you know him. He's a good friend of my big brother, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, founder of Agape. So he comes to speak. And he had just recovered from a heart attack, had a new heart. And I was so in love with his words, right? And so to meet him in person, and he's like this high and not my type, but because of his brilliant writing and just the way he exudes. And you'll see the love between us on the interview on my YouTube channel. Just put Dr. Marissa and Don Miguel. And I said to Michael that, can you set me up? And his ex-wife now turned and said, he just had a heart transplant. You'll kill him. Thanks, Ricky. So that's the backstory. It's kind of a funny story about Don Miguel. Actually, it's more about my craziness. But anyways, that is it for Breakfast with Dr. Marissa. Thanks for joining us. It is important to keep this good life habit in front of you, whether you do it with me on the show or not. If you do this for 28 consecutive days, I promise you'll sandwich your day in the most positive way. And you'll also begin to develop the ability to have good mental health. It's my BS belief system that the core to good mental health is a foundation of self-care, self-love, self-soothing, and you will do that by going to bed thinking about what you're good at versus what you didn't do or who done me wrong. And so please do try that. That's your Happy 88 challenge. And thanks for joining us for breakfast. All righty, here we go. My special guest, Stacy Raske. I'm going to ask you I don't have an answering machine. I have a questioning machine. And you already know this because you tape me doing this. When you call me, it says, "Who are you? And what do you want?" So, Stacy, who are you? And what do you want?
Ooh, nothing like just, cutting right to the core right out of the gates, Who am I? I am someone who also functions from just radiating and embodying joy and sharing that with the world by combining the ability to hold space and access so much authenticity of my own. It allows others to do the same. People always cry around me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you made me cry." I'm like, I made you do nothing. I simply held space for you to tap into the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. And if it just happens to be that's what comes up, that's what comes up. Right? It's just inspiring that access. So
have you always been like this?
It's funny. When I really think back to 6 and under before ego kicked in, definitely that was really the truth of who I was as a child. And then just kind of going through life and experiencing childhood traumas and hardships and challenges, and fast forwarding to obviously time in the service and going to war and things like that. There's a big spectrum where parts of that were closed down. I was not tapping into my own gifts and really owning me. I was still wearing a lot of that mask of who I should be, chasing that external validation and approval from everybody else because I never learned how to build a relationship with myself. So, I found that as I healed me and became good with this relationship with me, that radiates outward and helps others do something similar.
Yeah. So you're one of the 7 out of 10 of us who've had childhood trauma. So welcome to the club. And the good news about that is all of that helps chisel us into the magnificent beings that we are. And we own that. And there's nothing wrong with us. And we didn't do anything to get punished. But it does give us a perspective and the ability to we know how to move past pain into power. And I think that's what attracted us together, that energy, knowing that, because there is a very different vibe of people who are good with, we're good, period.
Yeah. Good with yourself, good with your story, good with everything, because all of it's a gift.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm curious. So the path that you took, so not so great things happen. Just for the sake of identification, if anyone's listening who thinks there's something wrong with them because they've had I'm very open about, I was called fat, ugly, and clumsy. So there was the emotional side of it. I was also physically beat because that was just all she knew. And she was repeating what her mom did to her. So can you share, you don't have to go into detail, but just for identification for anybody else who's listening, who's had similar childhood trauma experiences?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, I would say it starts really with understanding like my parents are both fundamentally good people. Both of them came from their own stuff and they were working with the toolkit they had, which both of them were emotionally unavailable. So for me, I learned very early on, chasing what I thought was love through that external validation because it was always very, external focused. So it was achievement and grades and performance and sports and things like that. My parents divorced when I was 2, so navigating 2 households and sort of the abandonment issues there. My dad was very much more like violent and explosive and things like that. And then with my mom, we moved a lot. So there's a lot of instability in that sense. And, there were really positive lights to anchor around. And at the same time, a lot of challenges. And, kind of the big one being at 13, moving from my entire world and my entire family is in around Chicago, and we moved to Alaska. And now I have zero anchor of any kind. And
not even in Anchorage.
No, not even in Anchorage. And we were in North Pole. I graduated from North Pole High School.
No way.
I have heard every joke under the sun. It's so funny.
Oh my God. That's funny, not funny, but yeah. Okay. So wow, that's huge. And you're gorgeous. So I can't believe that you just became gorgeous. So as an attractive, tall, blonde female going to Alaska, where maybe that's not so great, or the new kid there bullying a little bit, maybe.
So yeah, I was bullied a lot because of that chasing external validation. I was always kind of that needy, wanting people to like me. So I was always kind of molding who I was. And with moving so much, I could really kind of become whoever I wanted. But it's funny you say that. It was very ugly duckling phase from 10 into kind of the middle of high school. So even though I was tall, I was just really awkward and clumsy. Little chunkier, stuff like that. And, which really I started to shine a lot actually once I joined the military, because it gave me a lot of that structure and discipline that I was looking for. And, just grade A daddy issues, I was always chasing that always having a boyfriend, and it was always toxic and abusive because I grew up with, domestic violence. And so I didn't have any gauge for healthy relationships, especially with myself. So the military gave me a lot of that structure and discipline that I needed. And I really started to shine and thrive. But I got hurt when I was in Iraq. And so I was medically discharged after I came back. And so really there was this hard stop around this sense of identity attached to being in the military, this community that I'd never had, this sense of family and community the way that I did in the military. And then you get out and you don't have that anymore. So now you don't have tribe, you don't have this identity, and you don't have structure. And so like a lot of veterans, I started to flounder. So I put it all into school. Got my degree, started checking all the boxes, kind of at what you were talking about, right? The dream life of shoulds, start checking all the boxes. And unbeknownst to me at the time, this becomes my prison. So over the 10 years after getting out, even though I'm doing all the stuff to raise my ceiling, bigger goals, graduating valedictorian, the 6-figure corporate job, all the things, buy the house and the married and blah, 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 I never raised my floor, because my floor was still all of those wounds and those unhealthy coping of food and alcohol, drugs, work, all the things to just avoid what was happening internally, because that's all I knew. And so by 10 years ago, I weighed twice as much as I do now, right? So people see this radiant, glowing, healthy, joyful person. And I was hiding behind a lot of unresolved, just wounds with myself. It wasn't even anybody else's fault at this point. This was, I created this life. And so I weighed, twice as much. I was walking with a cane. I had all these chronic health conditions. I was on all these medications. My marriage was falling apart. I ended up losing the corporate job. And this was the last time I was suicidal, because I was at the point where I had nothing to live for.
Wow. Wow. Well, if you've just tuned in and you're wondering what's going on in my studio,
Going on all this
today,
heavy talk.
no, I haven't done a station ID. This should have come like 15 minutes ago, because I'm riveted by the story. And so nothing. No. I like the story. I want the story. But I also need to do a station ID. So if you just tuned in and you're wondering what's going on, you are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using a gift balance. Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, my show central YouTube TV channel, where if you free subscribe, you'll get an alert every weekday morning to tune in. And KCAA is in its 25th year, number one talk in the IE, the number one talk here. And it is the station that leaves no listener behind. And I'm very delighted to have a new friend who is my guest today, that I met at Greg Reed's Secret Knock in San Diego last week, where I was reporting live. She's here. She's telling us how she got from that one of the 7 out of 10 of us, how she similarly bottled up all those wounds and became, like me, an external approval junkie. I call it, walking around with antenna, looking for who likes me. And frankly, if you don't like yourself, how the fork do you expect anybody else to like you? So my reaction to your story, that you are twice as heavy walking with a cane, I can't even imagine it, because I see you as you are now. But I'm glad you told me that, because, looks are deceiving, and it is very much common. I get to work, I'm an organizational psychologist. That's where the doctorate comes from. And it is very common that successful leaders, movers and shakers, who have buried those wounds, or think they have, and say things like, past is past, can't change it, and all of that, about midlife, come to this place of what I call midlife opportunity. So I'll have executives who have gained tons of weight, or start crying, can't stop, or go into a depression, or get really mean, like really mean. And I get called in for that. So that sounds like a very normal thing that happened to you. And that's the good news, and the bad news is you're not alone. And then I want you to tell me, was it a burning bush experience that happened that got you to start loving yourself? Or was it gradual, garden variety? Take me there.
Oh, absolutely. No, I completely agree. I always tell people, I'm like, that was the physical manifestation of that emotional and spiritual burden that I was carrying. It just was showing up in my health, right? So no, it's right at the end of 2014. I mean, it's I've already lost the corporate job. My marriage is in shambles. I'm on all these meds. I am not myself. And this rock bottom moment is, I'm standing in the kitchen, bawling my eyes out after this fight with my husband. I'm just shoving food in my face from the cabinet, just straight in my mouth, chasing it with a bottle of booze. And for just a moment, I stop. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And for the first time in a long time, I got the answer. And it was, oh, honey, you are trying to make yourself look as ugly on the outside as you feel on the inside because you hate yourself.
Say that one more time.
You are trying to make yourself look as ugly on the outside as you feel on the inside because you hate yourself.
Wow. That is said so succinctly of the dis-ease that many human beings are experiencing right now. That's why I had you repeat it.
Oh, yeah. It was so clear. And then the follow-up to that was, and you made this. It was my choices, my decisions, my actions that led to this moment. But up until that moment, it had been a long time since I took ownership of who I was being, how I was showing up, and what I was doing to create this life. And in that moment, that was it. I was like, nope, okay. That's a whole lot of personal accountability that I don't need right now. And I am completely done. So that was when I was like, nope, it is end of life. I'm done. The gift in the message was, and that moment was initially, first I passed out, obviously, before I could follow through with anything. My, balancing levity with humor is I was so type A, I passed out before my plan was perfect. So I woke up the next day and there was this presence and this ownership that I'd not had in a really long time. And I said, that's it. I'm done. And like a light switch, everything changed because I said, I'm done trying to control anything other than myself. That was the gift of the moment and the lesson. And that has been my journey since then, for this last decade, has been learning and stacking upon a solid foundation of just learning how to better be in mastery and control of me, since that's all I can control, and letting go of trying to control all the old things that were about creating safety and sabotage from unhealthy coping. Because that's what I learned, right? But I can't control any of it. So if I can control me, that's it. But that allows us to be in such a place of influence and elevating those around us by being in this really strong, grounded space.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so beautiful. I have to do this. And that's the kind of light switch that both of us are in this world to. We can't do it for you, but we can certainly, set up the stage with our stories. I had a similar experience, one more time. I came back from work and my husband didn't even look up. I'd been gone a week, didn't even look up, stomped up the stairs, bent on the covers and said, why can't he acknowledge me? Why can't he love me? Why doesn't he pay attention to me? Why doesn't he approve of me? And all of a sudden the voice said, do you approve of yourself? Do you like yourself? Do you pay attention to yourself? And it was that moment of clarity that, I can spend the rest of my life blaming other people for what they did to me, which I'm not ever responsible for what happened to me as a kid. There's nothing I did to deserve that. And the ownership is with them. But the responsibility, as you just said, is with me, whether I bring that oversized emotional baggage into my present and spew it onto the future. So I am going to give you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award because you're taking your pain and your past and your experience and your turning, taking responsibility and now sharing that with other people. So here we go again. That's
you.
beautiful. Thank
you.
You don't have to do that, and you chose to do that. So now you are doing that in several ways. So before we go into the book, which has a very a title that I cannot say because we're under FCC rules, the name of the title, which you can say. Can you say it without the bad words?
Well, I mean, I always lean in on the subtitle, right?
Okay, good.
Which is really about quiet your inner critic and finally believe you're good enough. And what you're doing in the book is learning to not just fire that inner voice that tends to be very negative, but you're actually learning how to build a relationship with that because it's just a messenger letting you know something's off.
Yeah. But I do like the title. I'm going to say it. It's Be a Boss and Fire That Beach.
Yes.
Okay. And then the subtitle, Quiet Your Inner Critic and Finally Believe You're Good Enough. And that is so important, that understanding you're the boss of you, right? Mm-hmm. And that is exactly what those, all my Kashi gallery and everybody, I'm no one for that. Like you said, the only one you can really control is you. So I want to go back to your time in Iraq and the work that you did. It's very rare that I have a veteran say, I loved being in there. So let's go to, you were Army, Navy, Air Force?
Army. I did biological warfare detection. Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah, I cleaned up anthrax at the Pentagon after 9/11. And we were the first chemical unit in Iraq. So, yeah.
Now that's fascinating to me. I had my first counterintelligence spy as a guest. Did you hear about that or watch that?
No, not yet. Like I said, binging.
Okay. So you were in that. That's a fascinating unit. And first, thanks for your service.
You're welcome.
I am a huge non-war advocate, but that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate, while we have war, those who do service. So, and did you ask to be in that unit? How did that happen?
Well, it's funny. So hilariously, I enlisted active duty in February of 2001. So it was before 9/11 even happened. So I know a lot, we had a big influx after, but I was already in. So I did basic training, AIT, to learn my NBC training. And then I was selected. I was doing so well during training because I enlisted at 22. It wasn't right out of high school. And even though I was homeless at 16 and couch surfing to finish high school, you would think, oh, you would join the military right after that. But, again, I was so preconditioned to go to college that I still went to college. But 22, so I did really well, got selected for the biowarfare detection school, which I accepted. And then did that, which is where I met my husband. Biowarfare detection school. But so did that, went home on leave, 9/11 happened. So obviously it was just immediately within 2 days, I was at my duty station. So I'm such a science nerd. I love it. I mean, that is my core. I absolutely love all things scientific. And so, that's why I really leaned in towards like biological warfare detection, hazardous materials, chemical, all the different things. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now, what does your husband think about all of your transformation? Because if you met him there, that was 22, right? And And so it was a different you, and then there's a different you with that when you gained all that weight, and then there's now a different you. So is he like multiple personality? What did I get into? But I'm sure, because I am a law of attraction proponent and teacher and coach of it, you attracted someone then, which he can't also have been without some kind of a similar vibration.
Yes. Yeah, it was a spiritual connection right out of the gates. I mean, we're instant best friends, and it was interesting because it was purely energetic. I didn't even see his face. It was just, I got into the classroom. I'm totally on the opposite end of the classroom. And I'm just like, who's that? And I just had this, I needed to know who this person was. But it's funny because meeting me at that time, I mean, this is coming out of basic training in AIT. So I'm in probably the most confident I've ever felt. So as the person that he met and ended up getting to know initially is much closer to who I am now, obviously now significantly more evolved and healthier. But yeah, this would be much closer to that because I had a better sense of who I was and had some boundaries and got to know me and do some things without a guy and, all those things. But then, we kind of laugh. We talk about the dark period or the dark days of this, like 2009 to 2013-ish were like our dark days. There was like 5 years that were just really, really toxic and unhealthy. And I deviated significantly from that person he met.
Is that, I was guessing that time was when you started gaining all the weight and trying to match your inside with your outside.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very much. Well, in the health issues started first because I had not yet been diagnosed with PTSD. I just was expressing a lot of these health issues and seemingly unrelated, so it's things that look like autoimmune, or it's things that look like anxiety. It's things that look like depression. It's things that look like these weird inflammatory things. And nobody could figure out what was happening.
Right.
And it was internal. And so the signs and symptoms were there long before we got to that rock bottom. But, he and I both came from a lot of challenges and childhood adversity. So we bonded over that and we numbed out and avoided in a lot of the same ways. We were very codependent and unhealthy together. And so being able to go through individual journeys while being with somebody who's so reflective of an old identity has been a challenge, but at the same time, knowing that he's been presented as a gift to help be that mirror for me and help me grow into the truth of who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Well, you lit up when you first, were grateful for him. So I knew things were good. And I just was very curious about the journey.
Very challenging at times. Very challenging.
Hey, that's a relationship, right?
Right? You are so welcome, Sci-Fi Mombi. Thank you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right. So if you've just tuned in and wondering what's going on today, this is Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106. Home to the Asian Oprah, and 25 years. Unbelievable. Number one talk in the IE, and this is the number one talk show with me. And Stacy Raske is my guest today. She is a best-selling author. I'm going to pull the book up in a second, as well as a coach, as well as a speaker and a veteran from the Iraq War. If you have any questions for her in the chat, please feel free to put that there, and I'm sure she'll answer it for you. I'm going to ask you when you come across. Let's look at PTSD and veterans, because the good news is there's finally an acknowledgement, there's finally an understanding and an awareness and addressing something that is like so shocking in a way that it took this long for mental health and veterans to be like in the same sentence. Shocking, but everything happens for a reason. What would there's veterans in my listening audience, in my watching audience, coming back, and there's also that conflict within oneself. You're in the army, you're strong, I can do this, I'm okay, nothing's wrong. How does one get to that point to address, or talk about the moose on the table, which is my Canadian version of the elephant in the room?
I love that. That's so good. Well, for me, it was the biggest thing to understand is like my rock bottom was less than a year after completing a residential PTSD program through the VA. It was a 2-month residential program. And I'm like, okay, we processed through the military stuff, get out. And I'm like, why am I still not feeling better? And after my rock bottom moment in diving into my own healing journey, it was really recognizing, oh, it's the childhood stuff that created my coping methods on how I was dealing with life and trauma and everything, and staying in that survival brain. So my stress response stayed up and stayed elevated because that was my default. And so I'm like, okay, whether it's Hurricane Katrina or a mass shooting, why do certain people end up with PTSD and certain people don't? And at the same time, why are so many people in the military experiencing PTSD regardless of deployments or not? And the commonality is the childhood programming. And so if you look at the demographics who tend to join the military, such as myself, poverty, abuse, homelessness, all instability, all of these different things that really were escaping to go to something that provides stability and structure and discipline that has a lot of positive benefit, they're not necessarily helping in reprogramming that emotional coping piece. And then the military experience adds in a lot of that survival mechanism. So it kind of exacerbates the situation or exasperates the situation in the emotional sense.
Mm-hmm.
And we can kind of mask it a little bit because this is the first time many of us experience a sense of community that we never got to have as kids. Right. And that was me. I didn't have that sense of community. All of a sudden I'm in tribe, the way we're designed to be in tribe. And we have this instant connection with all of these people. And then when you lose it, you don't have that anymore because you get out. And then on top of it, you lose this given structure, sense of identity because you're given a mission. You're given a lot of these values and things that are important, but they were all external. And so I never learned, one, how to develop the healthy emotional coping with stress and myself. And at the same time, I never developed a sense of identity that was not attached to something external. So I needed to learn how to find my values, my identity, my mission and vision, and build my own structure.
That makes a lot of sense. I haven't seen that analysis sort of that clearly until now, looking at common traits of people who go into that very disciplined, very stable, very organized, and you're part. And again, this is the first time I've ever heard tribe and army together in one sentence, but it does make sense. Is that you are now an important part of something that has a larger purpose, right? Defend America.
A sense of community with your brothers and sisters you know, in a way that they become your family while you're in.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Now your husband was also in too, right?
yes, yeah, we were in the same unit, and he got medically discharged before we left to go to Kuwait and Iraq, so he got to stay home and worry about me. But he did Albania, Kosovo, Bosnia, a lot of that.
And can I ask what his medical discharge was about?
Back injury.
Oh, back injury. Okay.
Yeah, he has an artificial disc.
Wow. Was it
Yeah.
with explosion or?
No, just the rough, you know, just the military lifestyle in general. It's hard on your body. You know, there's a lot that we do between deployments and training and being in the field and all of that. It's just rough on your body. That's why so many end up with a lot of injuries from overuse, just because very physical.
Repetitive. Yeah. And your medical discharge was from PTSD?
No. Back and hip and a few
yours
other
too.
things. Yeah,
Yours
actual
too.
injuries and
Wow.
while I was overseas. A couple falls, a couple traumatic brain injuries, some the concussions and things. So just a few different things that happen, avoiding ambushes and rescue missions and convoys and all the things like
like
it's just normal.
No, I have no clue. I cannot relate at all. And she's like, "Oh, a couple of things, like breaking a nail."
It sounds way sexier than it really is.
Oh my gosh, doesn't sound sexy to me. It sounds painful.
Well,
but
the story, when you tell the stories, that people are like, "Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing," it just there's so much awe, but it's like all things. I think when we live our story, the fantastic becomes familiar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah. So we're coming up at the end of the show, as I predicted. Just getting to know you has been lovely, and getting to know your experiences and certainly your journey. What would be your final word that you would want to leave with anyone who's listening now or later, watching now or later, who has, from wherever they are?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Every time people are like, what's the advice to your younger self? And the advice to everybody else is, and this was the big lesson I had to learn, is it's only as hard as you make it. Because you do have so much control over your experience of life when you are taking control of you. And everything becomes hard when we're trying to control all the stuff that we can't. So when we take that step back, you can allow it to be so much easier when you're focusing on the right thing.
Beautiful. How do people find you?
StacyRaske.com.
There you go. Get her book on Amazon. So delighted. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your life with us. I hope y'all go check her out. It is all about balance. I do this at the end of the show. Ready? Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. Tomorrow we will be back here with Doctors in the House, my Wednesday series, and see if I can pull up real quick what Dr. Tiffany Tate and I are going to be talking about. She gave me the topic yesterday, and let's see, what are we talking about? We've got like 10 seconds to introduce, but anyways, come back to breaking the bonds of barriers. Let's see, on empowering ourselves. So very similar to the topic we are here today. We'll see you tomorrow with Doctors in the House. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Stacy Raske, for being a beneficial presence on the planet. Now go and have the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah.